Welcome to Watercolor Studio 42, and 42 is interesting. It's an interesting number, 42. I usually don't talk about or do a commercial, if you will, but promoting things. But I do talk about things that would be relative to places to visit, you know, or something that you would want to join. So I grew up in Taunton, Massachusetts, and the first 25 years I lived in Taunton. And then I attended Taunton High School. But all the way through school, I must say that the teachers and everyone used to support me. They knew I could do art pretty good, you know. And so if there was any projects that they wanted done, like a book cover or posters or whatever, and even doing decorations later on when I was in high school, we'd have a theme for the proms and stuff, dances, and I would be on the decorating committee for that. So all the way through school, I was always heading in the direction of being involved with the arts. In fact, even in my yearbook, under the listing of my name, the comment was, artists are only known to themselves. I don't know what that might refer to, but we're only known to ourselves. Hopefully we can be known to besides ourselves. But the number 42 does strike. It's 42 where I'm at right now. At the studio downtown 42 Union Street, and we're under the same roof practically with the Industrial Museum, another place that one should visit, okay, and take in what all these craftsmen, the work that they used to do in the jewelry work and all that. So that's a good place to visit. Also, the local Attleboro Museum, they're getting ready for their annual auction, so that's another thing that you can be involved with. They're on the cutting edge downtown and so forth. So 42 Union Street. 42, believe it or not, with the Taunton Art Association. This happens to be the newsletter that they send out. There's two sisters that are heading it up now in Taunton. The two sisters, one's the president and the other one's the vice president, and they're working hand in hand, and they've really brought back the Art Association up in Taunton. They've refurbished the whole building. They're doing extra work now on the handicap ramp and so forth. So it's a nice place to visit. The Taunton Art Association, I'm even wearing one of their t-shirts today. And it's on the back of the grounds of the Taunton High School now. Taunton High School is located out on Route 44 out that way. And at the back of the area where the high school is located now, it opens out on William Street. And guess what? The number on the building of the Taunton Art Association is 42. And 42, of course, is associated in baseball with Jackie Robinson when he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So 42 seem to come up quite a bit. Okay, so much for the commercial. This is the newsletter that they send out. It's quite extensive, a couple of pages and so forth, and it lists the courses that you can take. They have monthly meetings. They have a demonstrator. They have a different demonstrator, different medium, just about every time they have a meeting. I don't know if they meet that much during the month of June and July, but they certainly do pick up after that in September through the winter months and so forth. But the Taunton Art Association, 42 Union Street. So stop in, okay? So much for the commercials. Now, what I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be using what we call a grid, and the grid is just taking a ruler and drawing some lines across vertically and then horizontally. And I use the width of the ruler, whatever that is. This is a little bit more than an inch. So the little squares I have here are probably a 1 inch, a little bit more than 1 inch squares. Sometimes what I do is I put some tape around the outside, and when you remove the tape, you have sort of a false matte, a white area around in here when you take the tape off. So a lot of artists are doing that now to cut back on the cost of cutting mats and so forth. And I got away from doing all that now. I kind of do it this way and put my artwork inside of a clear plastic wrap and pin it up, sell it that way, rather than the frames. You get into frames, it costs a lot more money, a little bit harder to, put it together, and so forth. And so I've been selling things this way, just using a false mat and putting this inside of a clear plastic envelope and selling them that way. Now, this is one I did a while back. This was using the grid. This was using the grid idea, and so forth. And I think I'm going to try to do something this month, October, for Halloween. So I'm going to try one of these grid things and do it like a Picasso style, kind of strange distortions of maybe a profile or, combination of profile and a front view, whatever, of a head portrait, maybe a mask, if you will. Okay, so so much for that. But now, this is the idea to use a pencil first, make up the grid, and you can make this any size you want, depending on how tight you want to make the squares. So there's that. Now, I started on the artwork that I'm doing. I tried to stay mostly within the grid for the flowers, the position of the flowers. And then what I did is add some stems, put the stems going into a sort of a plant pot, a vase or whatever. And then after that, I just did a couple of free things, not so much staying into the grid, but just adding a little bit more texture to it, with some little sprouts here and there. So this is what I'll be doing today. Now, just to save the table a little bit from some paint, I usually take a paper towel and drop that underneath here, and probably save the tablecloth from getting some paint on it. I use watercolors because it is water, soluble, and it does clean up better. And what I've been doing lately too, I've been deciding ahead of time when I put out my paints, especially if I'm doing a class, I'll put out the paints ahead of time of the colors I'm going to be using. You don't have to put everything you have in the bag, all the tubes of paint you might have. Just put out what you need for what you're going to be doing. So anyhow, we still have a lot of flowers around our yard, thanks to my wife. She's a very good gardener. I do a little bit of it, but not as much as I used to. So anyhow, give my wife credit. Then, now, let's see what we have. I've got I've done this work. I've done that with pencil, made it up ahead of time. And this I started a little bit ahead of time. And so normally when I do a painting, I start with the background first, do the leaves, and then my finishing touches, I do the flower itself. and so forth. So we'll try to do that today. Now, we're into the fall season. We just turned into October. So maybe for the background, I'm going to kind of do a multicolor for the background. And usually for that, I find probably a larger brush. Probably this was a 1-inch flat across. And get some water. And so I'm going to take just this clean water, just regular water. Thanks to Poland Springs, right? Another commercial. But what you want to do is wet the paper and get some water in to what is going to be the background. Now you can make a tile background if you want. Our kitchen at home is half tile and then half, painted. Sometimes people wallpaper half the room and have a tile around the lower portion of the wall. Okay, wet the paper. Okay, the brush has a little bit of yellow in it, but that's all right. Okay, you can even do down around here if you want for now. Usually by the time you get down there, you have to re-wet the paper. This is always a little bit of fun because you kind of dabble around. You get used to wiggling the brush around here. I'm notorious for being a loose painter, a more fluid type of painter. I really don't get too fussy, uptight. I'm not really a realistic painter. You can understand, well, not understand, but you can visually tell what I've painted, but you can tell also it's not a photograph. It looks like a painting. A painting should be a painting, right? And I can appreciate those that do very realistic art and make it almost photographic, if you will. And but I don't know. I don't have the patience to be that fussy. Maybe I'm too lazy to be that fussy, huh? But anyways, whatever works, kind of go with it. Here we go. Go right to the edge. And whatever. Get down in through here. Okay, that helps you loosen up when you do all that background first, because you're usually starting with a bigger brush and you're painting kind of a little bit loose, but it does help you to loosen up. So then you have to make a decision. Okay, what am I going to do with the background? Well, seeing that it's sort of autumnish, is that right? Right? Is that a word? I don't know. Let's start off with a little bit of background color. This is sort of a mixed media. I'm going to put a little bit of hint of some yellow in there. And then, before it can dry out too much, I'm going to come in with a little bit of warmer color with maybe I have a little bit of orange. Let's try some of that in there, background. Kind of, you want to distribute your color kind of throughout the composition somewhat. The background probably will dry out. I know it will. It's going to be much lighter. So I start light to begin with. And I try to not leave too much white in there. You don't want to leave all these little specks in there of white. Sometimes artists do that. They leave too many what we call windows, and sometimes the pictures look like it's snowing, and it's supposed to be a summer picture, but it's snowing, with all that white, open white showing through. Okay. Get some color of autumn here. Okay, now whether I want to do across here, you can if you want. All right. How about a little touch of, get a little bit of pink in there too. Distribution of color. Okay, just a little bit of pink in there. Sort of like a background wash. You know, you don't have to be too fussy with it. And I try not to be too fussy when I paint anyway. Sometimes, you know, you can get away with being too picky if you use a bigger brush to begin with. But some people, they do these very thin little brushes, and you wouldn't scrub a floor, you know, with a small mop, a little tiny mop. So why use a little tiny brush to do the background wash? You can get it in faster with a larger brush. Yeah, come down in there, put a little bit more red down in here. Whoops. I want to get a little bit more of that in there. Now, like I said, this background is going to be a lot lighter when it dries out. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, wiggle a little bit of color down through here. I've still left a lot of white in there, some white, because you're going to put the green in there for the plants too, for the leaves anyways. We have some plants out on the deck. You know, we have plant boxes the length of the deck, and we've got those flowers. They're still in blossom. And we got some flowers that stay blooming for quite a while. So we still have color. We still have a lot of color. Now I put some, let's do this corner over here. Get that a little bit more pink in there. Okay, a little bit more pink up there maybe, whatever. Okay, yeah, go back a little bit more orange here and there. Oh, wiggle that in. Wiggle that out. Go right off the edge. Some of those wet areas, you know, if you don't have much time to let something dry, you don't put as much water on the paper, especially leaving puddles. That's okay if you got plenty of time to let it dry out, but sometimes when you paint outside, things do dry out very fast. You got the combination of the sun and you got the wind, the air. The air dries it. Keep that in mind if you're doing something at home. Sometimes you can put the one of these hair dryers on it, on your paper. Or leave your paper near the radiator, the radiator on, of course, or near a window where some sunlight can hit your paper. Another thing, with talking about that, when you hang your artwork up sometimes at home, you don't want to put it too much in the direct sunlight, you know, near a window. Have it where the sunlight barely hits that particular wall, because everything, no matter what it is, does fade, you know. Even though it's sort of resistant to some extent, it will fade. Okay, I think you're all set on that. It looks okay. All right, now let's see what else. Okay, now eventually if you want to put a mat around this or just mount it on something, another maybe background, you can do that. Now, okay, so that's that, and maybe now we could go back, and the next thing I would probably tackle would be the green part. So let's take a little smaller brush here. I could stick with a flat or a round. I'm going to pick this one up if I can. All right, that's about a 1/2 inch flat across. And we're going to take a little bit of yellow. Take some of my yellow, and I'm going to put some blue into that, and it should start turning green. Okay, let's see how that looks. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. Now, again, you can paint kind of loose, but not quite as loose as the background we had. And make sure we're getting the leaf and saving the flower itself a little bit. Okay. Now I use a permanent marker so that when I put color to it, it's not going to smudge or blur. Okay, put a little. You want to go a little darker. Put more blue into your yellow. See what that does. Okay, because your leaves can be different shades, and you have to decide sometimes where the light source is coming from, and that would be helpful. Now, sometimes when you do this, you can still indicate where the light source is going to be coming from by adding, you let this color dry, and then come in with wherever you want the light to be. Keep one side light, and then when you paint it in, you make it a little bit darker on what would be the shadow side. Shadow side, if left, put the shadows on the right. Everything goes to the right of. Okay, we'll do a few more of these. You could go. You don't have to stay in the lines either. You could go outside. I remember, when I was younger, I'd have these coloring books all over the place, and they always used to emphasize, stay in the lines, stay inside the lines. And yeah, that's okay. But if you want to go outside, that's all right too. I do that all the time. Because when you're painting fast, you can't really, have that much control, maybe. Some people have a little bit more control than others. I'm probably not one of them, but that's okay. You do something in here. Kind of like a filler, just dabble around in here. Might be a little bit more green down in there. Fill in a little bit of the background. And that's what you do. You're just filling in so you don't have as much of that so-called white showing through. Windows, just fill it in. And you want to kind of shear it up a little bit. Take some yellow, and you can dabble a little bit of yellow, kind of perk it up in there, and that doesn't hurt. Sometimes I use the yellow first, and then paint the green on top of yellow. That's all right. Let's fill this in across here more. Yeah. All right. Now, a lot of times when I paint, I might come in like it's a little bit like in here. If that's too dark, I just pinch the brush out after putting it in, cleaning it in water, and just lift some of that pigment or color out of there. See how you can lighten things up a little bit? Use the brush like a sponge. Yeah, just pick up some of that. You can blot it too with a paper towel. Sometimes you hold a paper towel in one hand and a blot with the other. Okay, here we go. It's a little bit too much yellow. You can erase it. Take it out. And pinch the brush out. You can touch your brush on your paper towel too, like that. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Distribution, color. Whatever. Whoops. Got that little guy over here. Now you can always come back and you can kind of dabble around a little bit here and there. You may, I just left out a little green petal here. I'll fill that in a hurry. And like I said, if you want to go outside the pencil mark or outside the, you can, okay? So that's how that's done. Now I got to take care of my nose a little bit. Excuse me. All right, now what we're going to do here. Ooh, I got another green leaf hiding down here. If you got too much yellow, you can erase it, take it out, come back with more green, and hide it. A lot of times, when you do a painting, you let it set overnight and then look at it the next morning or whenever you have a chance to, and you'll notice that everything has changed a little bit. And usually, I'd say over 60 to 75% of the time, after it dries out overnight and the paint settles in, it looks better. It looks better. But it's always something that you can touch up. That's what I like about watercolor. I mean, you can let this thing sit there for months at a time, but just as soon as you hit it with water and reactivate that paint, you can start painting again, Very, very good, very convenient. And if you make a mistake, I always have a tube with me of white acrylic. White acrylic is a little bit heavier, opaque. And so that's what I keep with me, and that's good for touch-up. Whatever you're working on. Okay. Now we come back and we could do more with the flower. We have to decide what you want to do with the flower, what color you want them to be, probably. Does that have something to do with the background? Possibly. But you can just leave them white and just put a little bit more texture and shadowing in, maybe make the center a little bit more noticeable. You take a little dab, put a little drop in there, in the middle like that. I don't know if that's going to do that much for it. It doesn't hurt. And if you got too much paint on there, you can always blot it out or take it out with the brush. Yeah. Make sure I give everybody a little dot of color. See how that kind of automatically starts perking up a little bit. And this is up to you. If you want to put the center maybe with orange, you can get away with that too. Sometimes the center of the flower has a darker color, a deeper purple or blue or black or whatever. Okay, here we go. I'm just kind of lifting some of that color. You get too much in there, you can hide it with that white. So when you stop and think about it, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm afraid of watercolor," because they probably had a bad experience with it. You can't paint water on just a regular piece of paper. It has to be a little bit heavier in material, because otherwise the paper curls up, or will tear easy, when it's wet. So you do have to have a watercolor type of paper to begin with, and then a lot of times you may want to use a different type of paint. You can use acrylic paint and so forth. I have painted with oils. I've done a lot of oil painting, and the only trouble with oil painting sometimes, you can scrape it off with a palette knife or whatever, and then paint something on top of it, and people consider that more forgiving. But when I start doing oil sometimes, I start I don't like it, scrape it off. I don't put some more paint back, scrape it off. So I'm kind of like a tire stuck in the snow or something. It keeps turning, but you're not going anywhere, So now this is up to you. If you want to take just a little soft blue, and you can still leave some of the petal white, but if you want to add just a little bit of color in there, let's put some drops in there. You can do this. Now I'm using a flat brush. Probably I'd be better off taking the round brush. This is probably a number 6 or whatever. But you can take that little puddle and you can wiggle it around in there and put a little bit on each petal, maybe for shadow or whatever you want to do with it. But take that little bit of paint and just kind of wiggle it around a bit. Okay? The big brush, get that out of the way. The big brush might be awkward to do that unless you're making a larger, larger type of enlarged flower. Now that's a little bit heavy in there, so I'm going to lift some of that out with my brush. Take some of that out of there. Okay, something like that. You don't have to do too much. Just pull that blue around a little bit on the petals. A little bit of touch. Make sure you get the blue here, and you just pull it around. Now, if it gets a little bit blotty, smudgy, if you will, you can just pull that around a little bit, and you can always lighten it up, take that out. But if you want to really lift that out of it, just take a larger brush, pitch it out, and that should lift up a lot of that color. Yeah, you can lift a lot of that out of there and lighten that petal up quite a bit. And do a little bit more there. And if you need to make that even lighter, let it dry, hit it with the white. Okay, and you can bring back the white on the pedal. Every so often, you might overdo it a little bit. See, I just kind of jump around a little bit. Now, what's going to happen here is all these little patches of color that I'm putting on the pedal, they're going to dry out. And they'll probably get a little bit lighter when you look at it next time. Let's get some more color up in there. Okay. Every flower can be done a little bit different, you know, where you put the color. If you get too much in there, just pinch the brush out. Use the brush like a sponge and lift some of that out if you don't want it to be too blotty or too spotty. It's still a little bit, okay. Okay. You could add some little specks in there, that's up to you. If you want to add some blue into this, it doesn't hurt too much if you don't go too heavy with it though, just kind of a little bit lighter. You can add some specks in there. That looks a little bit too much, so let's take some of that out. Push it around. There you go. So this is up to you, whatever you want to do with it. Now you can get to the point where you're sort of coming in too much with the texture. So what you have to do is go back and take some of that color back out. See how it gets kind of a little bit spotty? You might want to take some of that out of there. That's getting a little bit too much green. Maybe we can lift some of that out of there. See, it's better. Open it up a little bit more. I don't like some of these specks here. It's possible you may want to go with even a smaller brush. Getting too much green on those petals, so you know what I'm going to do? Use the white. Just hit the petals. If you want to take some of that extra paint, just touch it up. And lift that out of there. I'm not crazy about right here. Take some of that out of there. Okay. All right. I don't know what's going on down here. It's supposed to be a flower in there, but I sort of almost smeared it out of there with the too much green in there. Let's take some of that, backtrack and take some of that green out. Okay, there you go. Yeah. I'll spot that again. You kind of go around, touch it up a little bit, but you can get carried away with too much green. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll let this dry, and I'm going to do down here. Now you can make this any color you want. You can use some of that blue, and you can fill this in. You know, make it like that. I think I had too much green on the brush. See how that's too much green there. So I have to get rid of that. Now again, you can white it out, or you can pull some of that out. I don't see too much green. I overdid it. So you want to take some of that out of there, just pull it out. Lighten it up. And you want to come back, make sure you have more blue. There we go. Okay. See how you can kind of touch it up. Now you can touch it up even more. Oops, excuse me. If you want to just take a piece of towel, you just blot it. That will dry it faster, and then you can come back. Now, what I wanted to do, I don't know why I got mixed up over there, but let's make sure I got blue. Here's blue, right? And let's go this route. Clean my brush off a bit. And we know that's going to be blue. Ah, there we go. Okay, you can put your blue in there. Go right over your green. No problem. And if you want, you can make that sort of shiny, leave some highlight in there. Pull some of that out. And if this is going to be the shadow side, you can just make the sand down here. Make sure it's darker, that's all. Cleaned it right up. Get the blue back, okay? Now as far as the table goes, that could be like a check, material. Or if you want, we certainly don't want to make it green because we got too much green now in there. But let's come back. Let's probably if I get see, that's frost. That might work. Let's try it. And I want to make sure that my brush is clean. And we'll come back in here and use some of that color. Oh, I get too much in there. Too much of that. Now, that's all right. Let's erase that there. That can be okay. I didn't want to make blue on the blue, that's all. You could use that, but there we go. Take some of that out of there. There. Okay. I'm making a mess here. All right, now, what we have to do here, I'm kind of stalling a little bit, letting this dry a bit. I could pick up some of these spots I have. And where I feel that I've come in like too much with the green, take some of my white and let's put a drop of that in one of these empty walls here. I got plenty of palettes. Hey, come on. Just a drop. Don't need much. And all these little areas, I just hit them with some white. And you can touch up all those little spots. I got a tube here that kind of getting low. Ah, there we go. All right, that's better. sure my brush didn't have paint on it. And just come back in here. And some of these flowers that I sort of kind of put too much into them. Yeah, you can touch them up. This poor guy over here, we'll lighten this up quite a bit. There you go. Wherever you feel you need to touch up, this looks like it's too much of a smudge there, so I just clean that up a bit. See, you can touch it up, touch this one up. You can jump around here and touch up some of the background in there. So that's how that works. It's a lot easier to touch it up with a white rather than to try to erase it or sandpaper it or whatever. Where are we? Up in here maybe. Bring back a little bit more of the white in there. Alright. So you can have a lot of fun with these things. Now, let me get back here. Let's see if I can find my color. I'm trying to put some that sort of a table. My table at home is sort of a oak color. I'll use that one. Let's try this one. Okay, where did I put that? Oak. Let's put some of that on there. See what that does. Yeah, it's sort of an oak. Oh gosh, I got the green again. Shit. I'm green happy. Okay, here we go. I don't want that to be all green. So you put that, spread it around before it can dry, and you just lighten it up quite a bit. And I don't mind a little reflection of the green, but you don't want to get carried away with too much of that. So, let's see. I'm quite sure I had it right. I'm wondering if I do have the, I got sepia. Let's see. I need a darker, well, we could get away with sepia. We'll put a little bit of sepia in there. That's really a darker color. Let's see what, oh, that works well. Oh, what are we doing? I just hit the red by mistake. Sorry about that. Alright. That's not bad though. Not bad. Okay. Kind of a blend of a little bit of everything on the table. Okay, a little bit more of that. Yeah. You can leave some of the texture of the tablecloth in there sometimes if you want to dry brush it. Just put some, lift some paint through it. Okay, how are we doing here? All right. Okay. Go right to the edge. Now that still has a lot of green in there. Right in through here. Let's see if I can take some of that out of there. lighten it up. And I may want to come back in there, add some white back into that, and just let it dry, and then paint over it a little bit more. You know, you can take some of that out of there, and like you got too much in there, just lighten it up a little bit. Kind of spot it a little bit. Now, if you don't like the shape, just wiggle it out, blend it out. Okay, wherever you want to touch up, and you can do that. You could change the color completely if you wanted to. If you don't want to leave the petal as white, sometimes you can go into a pink color. You kind of pick up some of that background, pink in the background, and whatnot. All right. So, anyhow, where are we? All right. So, we're running out of time a little bit here. And if you're looking for something to do, I usually put some back shadow in there later on. That kind of pops everything out a little bit more. But like I said, if you're looking for a place to do some art or just visit, take in a demo, try some of the art associations in the area. Oh, another good one is that one over at Slater Park, the Watercolor Society. I've been a member of that one for years. And the unfortunate thing is, I guess, the cost factor being what it is, they're only open towards the end of the week. It's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. They're not open full time. And sometimes it's hard to find people that are available to be a sitter. Some of the museums, they need people to volunteer their time just to be there as sitters. And that's what they call them, sitters. Not that they have to just sit around, but that's the term they use. And just to be there to oversee, who comes in, say hi, kind of make them feel welcome, if you will, and talk a little bit about the history of the museum and so forth, and what the show's all about that might be there at that particular time. So anyhow, that's the idea, and I'm going to just let this set and dry, and if it dries out too light, too green, we can always adjust that. And you can come back and fill in some of that background with some of the white, let that dry. Then let's say if you wanted more of the warmer color to show through like we have up in the background, you can just add that in there and add that to it. So right now, to me, has a little bit too much green in it. So we could touch that up a little bit, but I have to backtrack and say, okay, I'm going to white this out and let it dry and then come back and touch it up. So it's just a matter of adding some of the finishing touches to it. So my time's running out, so brushes up, and we'll see you again next time.